Namaskar. This is our second session in the series Education about Classical Yoga. There are two aspects as far as the students, seekers of yoga are concerned. One is there are very few people who are interested in yoga, and there are many who are interested in knowing what is good for me in yoga. The majority of people today are interested in second aspect in pursuing yoga, to identify, to get to know what is good in yoga for me. But in classical approach, this was not the case, because that is a consumerism. In classical yoga, what is yoga? So one was keen to know what is yoga. That is the student's channel. So sooner or later, all of us need to get into this track. Now, we are all familiar with the idea, the notion, the concept, yoga is one and for one and all. Yoga is for one and all, no doubt. But that's a sweeping statement, not a precise statement. Precisely, there is something in yoga for everyone. This will be a more precise statement rather than saying yoga for one and all. So, people of different dispositions and inclinations will be there. However, there is something for them to be offered by the subject of yoga. There can be materialistic people, spiritual people, so these are polarities. Those are who are looking for physical well-being, mental well-being, and there can be atheists, there can be theists. So we will have variety of people, and yoga has something to offer for each one of them. And that's why we look for what is good for me. That means we don't want to change ourselves on one hand, and we just want to identify what is good for me. But in classical approach, that is not the case. It is just doing yoga for the sake of yoga. Now, as I said, this is the educative process. We are trying to understand the educative process that was there in classical times. Education was about what is yoga, rather than today, what is good for me in yoga. Now, let us try to understand what is the education here, what is the education all about. When I say there is educative process in yoga, education about what? It is education about not yoga. It is not getting educated in yoga. Yoga is education about oneself. Yoga being adhyatmic subject, it is education about oneself. We get to know ourselves by getting to know yoga. That is why yoga has been described as a mirror. It is a darshana, it is a mirror. So yoga is a mirror for understanding yourself. Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter says, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidiyate. This shariram is kshetram, field. It is called field. And we are supposed to be knower of the fields. See the unfortunate travesty because of materialism. We do not want to know ourselves, we want to know everything that is around us. Another example I can give you that we want to eat food and we want to digest the food, but we do not want to know how the digestion takes place. We want to be intelligent, but we do not know what is intelligence and how the intelligence functions. We all want to use our brains, but we don't want to know what is our brain, what our brain is. Now, this is something that is not sound in logic. If you want to be using the brains, it entails that we should know a little bit about the brain. But in our business activity of life, we don't need it. We don't want to understand our bodies and our mind and our brain, and we just want to use our body. We want to use our mind, use our brains. But in philosophical approach, this is not done. That is why we are supposed to be knowers of the kshetra. The shariram is the field, and we are supposed to be knower of the fields, rather than in practicality of life and business of life. We want to use ourselves. We want to use our body. We want to use our mind. We want to use our brain. We want to use our intelligence. And we are just bent upon using it. This is a kind of animal tendency in us. If we want to overcome this animal tendency within us, this must be realized that this embodiment is meant to be known. We are supposed to be knower of the embodiment, particularly in the Adhyatmic realm. We are supposed to be knowing this. That's why you have this question, who am I? In philosophy, you are familiar with this question, that you should be knowing who am I, apart from other questions, what is all around me, etc. So, yoga being Adhyatmic subject, the shariram becomes kshetra, and we are kshetragnya. Gnya means to know. So we are the knowers of this field. We are supposed to be knowers of the field. If not during the business activity of life, sometimes we must ponder over this, that we must become knowers of this kshetra, this shariram. Again, when the word shariram comes, we are familiar with the connotation of the shariram, means it is body. So it doesn't mean it will be a cavil on the part of an inquisitive mind saying that I should know my body, I should know my anatomy and physiology. That is not being suggested here. Shariram is not just anatomy. So, shariram is usually rendered as body, and it is not suggested we should know our body like anatomist does. In the medical realm, they try to know the body, but that is not being suggested here, because shariram means there are three shariras, three bodies: gross, subtle, causal, sthula sharira, sukshma sharira, karana sharira. So that is what shariram is when it is kshetra, and we are supposed to be knowing this, knowers of this at least. So yoga makes you know about this shariram. It is a process to know our body, starting with the gross. And the gross is our physical body and psychological mind. These are the gross aspects of our sthula shariram, with which we take birth, and then on the point of death we leave it behind. So sthula sharira is that which is only meant for one lifetime, and every time it is redone, reconstructed, reconstituted for every life of every incarnation. So that is the gross body. Behind the gross body there is a subtle body, astral body, what is also called an astral body, which is transmigrating body. It is there before the birth, it is there after the death as well. So there is something like that, which is called Sukshma Shariram, and there is Karana Shariram, causal body. So, yoga is a pursuit to know these shariras. So, Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, three bodies. Then there is Annamaya, Manomaya, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya koshas, which again is explained in Science of Yoga. So that's how we are embodiment of the nature of onion. Onion has a skin. You don't eat onion with the skin. You peel the skin and then eat onion. But that onion has several petals. So when you peel one petal, still it is onion. When you peel the second petal, layer of petal, again it is onion. When you peel the third or fourth and fifth and sixth layer of petal, yet it is onion. Until it comes to stem. So between the stem and over the stem, between the skin and stem, we have several petals of onion. Similarly, our embodiment is. We have several layers. And we need to explore those layers. So education about what? Basically, on the grosser plane, what our manifestation is, the body, mind, breath. So how the body, mind, breath interact, how they interplay with each other, how they have interface with each other. So in asanas, we have this notion that I should do an asana. I should do yoga. But question yourself, do you just want to be doing yoga, or eventually you want yoga to happen on you? So on one hand, we get to doing yoga. We want to be doing it. We want to be doing everything that is possible, everything that is probable. We want to be doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. But when we come to assessment of it, we want to see how much yoga has happened on us. So we wait actually for yoga to happen on us, whereas we are handling the track of doing it. So when you embark upon classical yoga, you will open out the field of your embodiment, let's say the field of our body here, for the body, mind, breath to have interface. So yoga depends upon what they do for each other, rather than what and how much you do for your body, how much you do for your mind, how much you do for your breath. It is more important what they do for each other. So classical yoga depends upon their profound interactions. When they have interface, they will work for each other. How much they work for each other will be really deciding on how much yoga happens on you. So any posture, as I said, you can take up any posture. Particularly when you want to have education about yoga, you have to settle to a posture not that is fascinating to you. Don't settle down to a posture that is fascinating to you, or don't settle down to a posture that you want to be trying and getting it. Settle down in a posture which you have done, with which you are familiar, and where you are relatively comfortable, where you can be staying for a longer period of time, and you can be staying also relatively comfortably. So opt for such a pose. For example, Supta Virasana, Supta Baddha Konasana, and then get education. Do not try to get education in a difficult position where you are struggling or where you are not comfortable, you are uncomfortable, there is a discomfiture. You will never learn yoga in such a position. So learn in a position which is relatively easier, comfortable, and also of a long duration. Now settle down in such a position where you can relatively stay longer. And as I said last time, body, mind, breath awareness, body, mind, breath activity, they activating each other, you activating them, etc. So go for those preliminaries which I explained in the last session. Now today, allow the interface in a more pronounced way between body, mind and breath. Rather than the worldly way, how much the mind can do for you and how much you can do for mind, how much the body can do for you and how much you can do for your body. Let's try to understand how much the body can do for mind, how much the mind can do for body, how much the body can do for breath and vice versa, how much the breath can do for mind and vice versa, because the position that you have taken is a wonderful position which facilitates for body, mind, breath to interact, have interplay, have mutual subserviency, have mutual addressal. So they will be able to work on each other more profoundly by this being a yogic position. It doesn't happen in any other position, any other posture. So avail of this and then try to understand how much they can work for each other, how much they are mutual benefactors and mutual beneficiaries. Rather than the materialistic and worldly way of looking at the thing, how much I can be a beneficiary of yoga. You will be in any case a beneficiary indirectly, because if your body, mind, breath are having advantage, do you say they have advantage but I don't have advantage? Is there any condition that they have benefit but you don't have benefit? So when they have benefit and then you have benefit on account of it, that is indirect process, and this is more advocated in yoga rather than going for a direct benefit to body and from body, to breath and from breath, to mind and from mind. So in yogic culture, we encourage the indirect benefits coming to us by they getting mutually benefited. Now in our worldly life, we say, this is my body, this is my mind, these are my senses, this is my breath. That means you are according some relationship between you and your body, you and your mind, you and your senses, you and your breath. So you are establishing a relationship between them. So find out in your position that you have taken these relationships. Now if they are related to you, that means they are mutually related to each other. Now in the internal social, we are atrocious. We want the mind to be related to us. We want the body to be related to us. We want the breath to be related to us. But we do not want to establish mutual relationship between them. You have a father, you have a mother, you have a sister. But if we do not allow the sister to be treating the mother as mother and she as daughter to her mother, it is an atrocity. You can't just say that you should be only my sister, or you can't just say that you should be only my mother, or father, you should be only my father. Because father is husband to wife, mother is wife to husband, the father. Then other siblings are also related to each other. So we must encourage the mutual relationship to also evolve. That is what happens in a good family setup. Now here they are all related to us, but we do not recognize they are mutually related to each other. We do not encourage them to nurture the relationships. We want to be drawn towards us. We become center of attraction. We want to see mind is mine. It is related to mind. We don't think that the mind is of body and it has a relationship with body. Breath has a relationship with body and mind. Mind has a relationship with body and breath. So they have mutual relationships, and in asanas we encourage that. And that creates a healthy family system within us. This is so important. Otherwise, in our practicality of life, mundanity of life, we are atrocious. We don't allow them to have their own relationships nurtured. We don't allow them to be in those relationships. We want them to be related to us. But in asanas, we are taught this lesson. So we are taught the sociology within a family, how to nurture relationships, how to encourage relationships, how to facilitate relationships between all those which are related to us. My body, my breath, my psyche, my consciousness, my senses. And in asanas, you will be able to establish the relationships. So let us see how they work for each other. If body and mind are two sisters, let us see how the two sisters interact within them. Let's open a field for them to interact within themselves. Rather than saying, A sister, you are my sister, therefore just be sister to me. B sister, you are my sister, therefore be only sister to me. But do not be sister to A or A sister to B. This is atrocity. So in our business of life of activity, we commit lots of atrocities within the society, in us, within the family, within us. Asanas open out that field. So they all have a wonderful family relationship. So we develop healthy family within ourselves. It's a family. Our body cells, body matters, mind matters, senses, psyche, consciousness, breath. So these are all having mutual relationships. In asanas, we can open out these relationships and therefore give the benefits to them. So, it is to know how they interact with each other. Education here is about how body, mind, breath, senses interact with each other. That is the matter of education. So, in this education, we will be getting to know much more about their potentials, their traits, their dispositions, their gravities, when they work for each other. While we are in our worldly activity, we are going to engage them to work for us. So when I go to my workplace, I want intelligence to work for me. So I employ it to work for me. I employ my body to work for me. I employ the mind, psyche to work for me. And we don't allow them to work within themselves. In yoga, we allow this. And therefore, we will learn the interactions. That's the education about. What the body does for body, mind and breath. What the breath does for body, mind and breath. What the mind does for body, mind and breath. So these are grosser aspects of us, because we are nothing but body plus mind plus senses plus breath. That's all our equation of ourselves. What are we? We are sum of all these. So let's see how they work for each other. How do they interact? So in asanas, you should just not do your chest or back or abdomen. The education about the breath and abdomen interaction, the breath and chest interaction, the breath and back interaction, interaction of the limbs with the trunk with the limbs. So let them mutually interact. And this is the education here, as to know what are these interactions, what are these interplays. So I have tried to give little opening to the matter of education. Education about what? And this education is the first step in education about yoga. So in any asana, you can go for this educative process. So that should be enough for the day. So try it out, experiment about it, and try to get what knowledge process you are getting out of this, out of their interactions. Like when two wise persons are interacting, we should be just auditors. We must just listen to them, not interfere in their dialogue. We will get a lot of wisdom. But if we interfere, we get inferior education. So when the two wise people are interacting, we must just be witness. We must just be auditors. We must just be spectators. We must just hear about their dialogue. Similarly, allow the body, mind, breath to have dialogue. Breath at later stage we'll know is one of the most wisest, most entity in our embodiment. Let us see how the wise breath interacts with inferiorly intelligent body and mind and other things. How do they interact with each other? That is education about yoga. Education about yoga is within, when you are in asana, when you are in pranayam, when you are in any yogic process. So that's the matter of education here. I have tried to give little bit insight about the matter of education. When I say yoga is an educative process. Education about what? Education about one's own body, mind, breath, senses, psyche, consciousness. Thank you very much. Namaskar.